Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Bleeding Grave podcast. I am one of your hosts, Hannah.
And I'm the other host, Austin.
We are just a couple of cousins from Minnesota that really just like spooky and off-kilter things. And all we really do is sit around and talk about them, so we decided we were just going to put microphones in front of us and just share those conversations with you guys. So here we are.
Hello. It's going to be awkward for the first couple episodes.
Yeah, it's going to be really awkward because we are talking to a make-believe audience currently.
At this point. Well, I mean, we're just kind of talking to ourselves, putting it on a computer. So it's going to be a little awkward. So bear with us for these first couple episodes. But we honestly hope you enjoy the topics that we enjoy to talk about.
Yeah, so here we go. I guess we don't really have too much to share right now.
No, not too much right now, but probably in the future we'll have more. But I think we'll just get into the stories. Yeah,
so we decided we're going to start flipping coins to decide who's going to go first because we don't want to actually make any decisions. It was hard enough choosing what stories to cover.
No. It's 6:15 at night right now, and
You've had a full day of work. I honestly only really woke up a few hours ago, so
let's just leave it to chance. We're both got to talk. Let's see who goes first.
See who goes first.
Ladies first, heads or tails?
Tails.
It is tails.
Hee.
So Hannah gets to go first and bore us with her story.
Okay.
Oh.
If you think spontaneous human combustion is boring, then that sounds like a personal problem.
You're talking about spontaneous human combustion today?
I sure am.
Okay.
I decided a while ago that I was going to start with a bang, a literal bang.
I love it.
Heads are exploding.
I love learning about spontaneous human combustion.
It's so weird. It's such a wild phenomena. So I decided a while ago that this was going to be my first topic. Though I will probably lean more into ghosts and paranormal things, I'm just going to generally cover, like, just dark things that interest me. I think we both are. So, spontaneous human combustion. So the definition, this comes from the National Library of Medicine. The term spontaneous human combustion refers to a situation when a human body is found with significant portions in the middle parts of the body reduced to ashes, much less damage to the head and extremities, and minimal damage to the direct surroundings of the body.
Oof. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not much to say to that, ever.
Nope. It's a tough one. All right, so the National Library of Medicine also says, a unique sequence of events takes place for the human body to incinerate to ashes. The flame burn victim has to die for the body fat to start melting. A tear in the skin has to occur for the melted fat to impregnate the charred clothes, igniting a wick effect that produces a localized heat for an extended period. A phenomenon called spontaneous human combustion is reality. The term spontaneous human combustion has nuances which are not applicable to this situation or to these modern times. Therefore, we suggest a new term, fat wick burns, aka, in my head, human candle.
I think that is the literal definition of a human candle.
I think that is a little, yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, the clothes are the wick, and the fat is the wax. Mm-hmm. That's all you need.
Right.
I wonder how that smells.
Well, that's
is that weird to think about?
No, I don't think so, because that's like, I'm fairly certain a strong aroma is one of the key things that come with spontaneous human combustion. Like when you enter the room, there's an aroma. There's usually like a slimy substance and or ash on the wall.
Oh, I thought you meant like before someone spontaneously combusts, there's a strong aroma.
Oh, God, that would be fascinating.
Wouldn't it?
Can you imagine if you were just like walking around Target and like somebody walks past you and you're like, they're gonna blow up soon.
That'd be kind of fucked up.
That'd be really fucked up. Anyway, which that is not what spontaneous human combustion is. It generally is not like a big bang. The earliest accounts date as far back as the 15th century. It became more widely known in the 19th century from Charles Dickens' novel Bleak House. He killed off a character using spontaneous human combustion. Critics said he was giving legitimacy to something that didn't exist, so he showed them research of 30 historical cases.
Oy vey.
You just clap back. Currently, it's most common to be used as an explanation when terribly burned corpses are found with no damage to any furniture around them. One of the most recent cases was in 2010 in Ireland.
So you mean to tell me that these people burn up, but they don't See, no, I haven't read anything like that.
So we're going to get into it.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Because I did the research.
Good,
and one of the biggest characteristics with spontaneous human combustion is that frequently there is no damage done to the home or surrounding furniture. It's usually just to the body, and generally to just kind of the midsection of the body. It's not uncommon for legs, arms, heads to still be intact.
Okay.
It really seems like it just burns up all the fat in the body and then goes out.
And then kind of leaves a human carcass.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I'm fairly certain I have a few stories in here. It's been a minute since I made these notes. I
don't think I was reading the right spontaneous human combustion because, honestly, I have not heard of any of that.
Really?
That, or I'm just...
Because these are all, very, classic occurrences with it.
That I'm just going to chalk it up to at this point. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to let
because like it kind of said in that one quote from the National Library of Medicine, it is kind of a misleading title because it's not it's combustion in the true sense of the word. It's fire. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not like a kaboom.
Big boom.
Big boom. Like I said, one of the most recent cases was in 2010 in Ireland. So the human body is mostly made of water. And most of the highly flammable parts are found internally, so the notion seems unrealistic. Because many of these victims are found near a source of fire, many believe that they accidentally set themselves ablaze while lighting a fire or smoking cigarettes. This is how a lot of scientists will explain it away. But why would the furniture and surrounding items not have any damage when the human body needs to reach at least 3,000 degrees before turning to ash?
That's right. Because that's what do you call them? A crematory, when they put them in the furnace, it's like 3,000 degrees.
And it takes a long time.
Yeah, a very long time. I was reading something on the smell that comes from people nowadays, especially bigger people. Some say it smells just like cooking a steak. Mm-hmm. Isn't that kind of weird to think about?
I've heard that.
Well,
and that answers your question. What does it smell like?
Oh, I guess, yeah. There, I answered my own question.
So things that can cause the phenomenon. Bacteria, static electricity, obesity, stress, and consistently high alcohol consumption. None of that has really been proven by science.
I was going to say, because then everybody in the automotive industry should be a human meat sack right now because of stress and alcoholism.
Honestly. A scientist named Brian J. Ford believes that a buildup of acetone in the body may lead to spontaneous human combustion after spending time doing some combustion experiments.
Like on himself?
I don't know, actually. The next note is things that can lead to a buildup of acetone in the body include alcoholism, diabetes, and certain diets. So I'm on track to start on fire and die.
You are.
To go out with a bang.
Hey, at least you don't work in a dealership anymore.
Honestly.
And are an alcoholic.
Honestly. The first case recorded in history was an Italian knight. He drank 2 ladles of incredibly strong wine, and it didn't sit well. He immediately vomits flames and then bursts into flames, and no one else had a problem with the wine.
I'm sorry, who takes ladles of wine?
An Italian knight. This was probably in the 15th or 16th century.
Oh. I didn't know what an Italian knight was. That makes a lot more sense. Okay.
Okay, let's see if I can pronounce this. Countess Cornelia di Bandi lived in the 1700s. She was found between her bed and her window, thought to have been getting up in the middle of the night to open her window, and just combusting before reaching the window. Everything on her body was burned except the bottom of her legs and a few fingies.
Fingies?
A few fingies.
Okay.
In her room, 2 candles had the wax burned off of them and the wicks untouched. And there was soot on everything. So these candles had melted.
Because that's how hot she combusted.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
3,000
degrees.
I keep forgetting. Yeah, 3,000 degrees.
That'll melt a candle, I think.
Oh, do you?
So yeah, and like I said, the soot on everything. That's pretty common too.
Okay.
The most recent case in 2010 was the first Irish case of spontaneous human combustion. An old man was found laying with his head near the furnace, and the body was badly burned. The furnace wasn't the source of ignition, there were no accelerants, and no signs of foul play.
That's just really weird.
Yeah. So the scene had the common spontaneous human combustion element of burn marks above and below the body, on the ceiling and the floor, and nothing else was damaged.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
exactly. That's why it's just a phenomenon. There's nobody really understands it. We just know that it's something that's well recorded in history.
Yeah. What if this turned out to be like the first time they did it? It was somebody who set somebody on fire. I don't know, man. He just spontaneously human combusted.
Right. I know. Like, what if this all was just actually murder cases and somebody just kept starting somebody on fire?
Yeah. And
that's so awful.
No one wanted to do their job, and it just spiraled out of control. That's a conspiracy theory.
That is a conspiracy theory. So yeah, that is a very quick version of spontaneous human combustion. Just wanted to share a few stories and just kind of the general idea of it.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, I learned more than what I thought I was going to. And
your face lit up when I said that.
Well, yeah, because, man, I thought...
It was real ballsy of you to be like, boring story. And I'm like, okay.
I got to poke fun.
Let me just spontaneously human combust your brain here really quick. Yeah. Your one brain cell that you have.
Well, you did, because I don't even know if I even was looking up the right stuff or thinking of something else I looked up now, because I didn't know a lot of that. I'm trying
to think of what you were looking up.
Yeah, I don't know either.
At all.
Okay.
If it wasn't spontaneous human combustion.
It'll come to me like late in the night one night. I'm just going to text you.
Can't wait.
Okay. So... like we previously mentioned, I will be doing more of true crime stories here on this podcast.
Yes.
So, as the very first one, I mentioned it in the trailer episode of the Weepy-Voiced Killer.
I love the Weepy-Voiced Killer.
So, like I said in the trailer episode, the Weepy-Voiced Killer is the most notorious serial killer here in Minnesota, and I thought it would be a really good idea.
That's a good one to start on.
To start on is the most notorious. I've heard of the Weepy-Voiced Killer before, but I never knew it was in Minnesota. I just heard it in passing, and like, this is a serial killer. Okay, cool. Never really looked into him. And then, as I'm looking more into different Minnesota lore and everything, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I found the Weepy-Voiced Killer. Okay, I will finally read him. And I was like, I got to do it.
It's good stuff. It's good. I just remembered a bunch of stuff about the story as you were talking, and I'm so excited.
So don't spoil anything.
No, I'm not going to. I'm just so excited to hear you tell it.
Perfect. Awesome. So, the Weepy-Voiced Killer, or his real name is Paul Michael Stefani. Not to be misidentified with Gwen Stefani.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I was trying to make a joke, and it sucked.
I'll make sure I laugh next time.
Don't pity me. All right. So Paul Michael Stefani, he was born on September 8th, 1944. He was the last of 10 children and born into a Catholic family, which neighbors and other family members noted that they were very highly religious, as most Catholic families are.
Yeah, that tracks.
That I hear. He was born and raised in Austin, Minnesota. And for those of you who don't know where Austin, Minnesota is, it's about 2 hours straight south of the Twin Cities here. When Stefani was 3 years old, his mother remarried. Did not get the stepfather's name. There was not too much known about his childhood that I could find. But you'll come to find out that Stefani here is a pretty not open man.
Yeah.
So after his mother married his new, now, stepfather, he was known to be a bit of abusive. He would beat the children and sometimes throw them down the stairs.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
Could you just imagine getting...
No.
Like, what was he like when they were dating? Did he even meet the kids? That's like, I want to know some of this stuff.
Those kind of people put up such good fronts.
They do. So, Stefani did grow up in a very abusive household. We're going to fast forward to his adult life here. He was married. He did have a daughter, but soon after his daughter was born, he divorced his wife and just completely abandoned them. Moved from Austin up to the Twin Cities here and has never made contact with them.
Well, I mean, good for them because they dodged a bullet.
Well, yeah. I mean, lucky for them.
Lucky for them
that he divorced her. Mm-hmm. He held down many, many jobs. Or I should say, not held them down, but he had many jobs. He had many jobs.
Was it like bouncing from job to job?
He was like bouncing from job to job, and after his wife, he was always struggling to meet and talk to women as well. Come 1977, he was fired from the Malberg manufacturing plant. Found out actually where it was located here. Ooh. It was located just south of Como Park and just a little bit east of Snelling.
That's very close.
Very close. Like we could literally, if we got in my car right now, we would be there in 10 minutes. That's how close we are.
Not to triangulate ourselves too much.
No, we're not going to triangulate ourselves. I mean, 10 minutes, they don't know where we are.
Right. So. Twin Cities.
Okay. So there's a little background, Stefani. Now we're getting into the murders. His first victim, a 20-year-old college student named Karen Potak, or Potic, so it's spelled P-O-T-A-C-K, however you want to pronounce that.
Yes, it depends on how much of a Minnesota accent you want to put into it.
Potak. So this happened on New Year's Eve, 1980, in St. Paul. She was found naked and lying in a snowbank. She had head and neck wounds with part of her brain exposed. Despite these injuries that she had, she survived. But she doesn't remember the attack at all.
Oh my God.
There was a call made prior to finding Karen lying in the snowbank, made by a very distraught, very mousy, choked up man voice on the phone.
I hate that description.
It's a pretty accurate description of how this person sounds. He gave the exact location, and before he hung up the phone, he states there was a girl hurt there. And given that this person called it in, is probably the reason she survived, especially with brain exposed.
Yeah.
Now, on to the second victim. We are going to fast forward 1 year. Whole year before something happened again. So June 1981, 18-year-old, just graduated, Kimberly Compton. She unfortunately was murdered and found near a construction site in St. Paul by a group of teenagers. She had multiple puncture wounds to her chest, stomach, and both of her inner thighs. Investigators suspect it was done with an ice pick. 2 days later, the police got a call from what now they would call the Weepy-Voiced Killer. And I'm going to play a quick clip of the Weepy-Voiced Killer making this call.
I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her. I am so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every time. I can't believe it's just like a big dream. I can't think of being locked up. If I get locked up, I'll kill myself. I'd rather kill myself than get locked up. I'll try not to kill anybody else.
Oh my God.
Now you can see why the police nicknamed him the Weepy-Voiced Killer.
Yeah.
And at this time, they still don't know this is Stefani.
Yeah.
And what is left out of that 30-second clip I just played is he also states before hanging up the phone that he was sorry that he killed her with an ice pick. No one should know that because that information of the murder weapon was not disclosed to the public. Only the killer would have known this.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of a smoking gun.
Mm-hmm. So when they had that, they were able to keep him. They were able to call him back, keep him on the line just long enough to trace the call to a phone booth somewhere in St. Paul, Minnesota. When they got there, Stefani wasn't there, nor were there any witnesses to identify him. So they still don't know who it is. We're going to fast forward another year, August 1982. Picture a bar in Minneapolis with 40-year-old Barbara Simmons. Barbara was there just to have a good time. People at the bar said that she was with a man that would actually later to be identified as Stefani. Unfortunately, she was found floating in the Mississippi River with multiple stab wounds. Yeah, police believed it was with a Phillips head screwdriver. The stabbings were quick and a lot, and it was over 40 times that she got stabbed. I know. Could you imagine stabbing somebody 40 times with a screwdriver?
No, I can't.
I'm looking at a screwdriver here, and that's just.
Put that shit away.
Are you afraid now?
A little bit.
So 2 days later, after Barbara Simmons' body was discovered, the police got another call. And again, from the Weepy-Voiced Killer. He says, "I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. I killed more people."
He counted?
Yep.
That's a completely different level of fucked up.
Yeah. He said, I stabbed her 40 times. I killed more people. I'll never make it to heaven.
I mean, there's very obviously mental health issues going on here.
100%.
Like, okay, keep going.
This man is not well.
No, he's not well.
After this call, the police went and found all the violent records that they had on people in the Twin Cities. After narrowing it down of the list of violent offenders, they were actually able to narrow it down to 8 men and bring them in to take mugshots of them. And they brought these 8 mugshots to the bar that Barbara Simmons was at and was seen with Stefani. They did identify Stefani was there, and he was the one talking to Barbara Simmons that night.
At this point, how long was it since the first murder?
First murder happened in 1980. Yeah, it's 1980.
Okay. And
so now it's August of 1982.
Okay. A couple years.
Yep. So once Stefani was pointed out as that he was there. So they still had no hard evidence to charge him or to arrest him. So, but they had pretty good leads that this man is probably the man. They set up surveillance around his apartment. There was one day he left his apartment and he was heading towards Minneapolis. They started to follow him, but unfortunately lost him. Hours later, that same day, police get a call about a woman being stabbed. This is where we meet 26-year-old sex worker Denise Williams. She was stabbed 13 times, but she survived. And how this occurred, when she was questioned by police, she told that a man came up to her, or drove up to her, and asked her if she would like a ride home. She reluctantly said yes.
They didn't give her a choice.
No, not really. They drove down not too far from where she was picked up, and he pulled over, stopped the car, and he just started stabbing her. He stabbed her 13 times before she could grab a glass bottle and smash it across his face.
Jesus. And what was she stabbed with this time?
She was actually stabbed with a screwdriver.
So tools.
Yep. It's just
man.
the amount of force that you need to push through skin with a screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver.
Well, with a Phillips, I mean, it's pointed.
It is, I guess.
It's not great.
It's not great.
It's going to hurt a lot more too.
It's true too. It's definitely
it's
going
not
to.
It's not going to be a clean stab.
Exactly. And they did identify him with the mugshots that they did have of him previously, and they showed it to Denise, and she identified him. The police get a call with a familiar voice hours later after Stefani was identified. This time he was asking for an ambulance to come to his place of residence and stating that he is all cut up in the face. Police and ambulance rush over to his house and arrest him.
So he, cut up his face?
No, Denise did. Remember when she smashed the glass bottle?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because I was thinking about how in his thing he was saying, I'm gonna kill myself, if I keep doing, stuff like that. So I was like, is this a weird form of self-harm? Okay.
Nope. Those are the wounds that was inflicted by Denise.
Good job, Denise. Proud of you, girl.
Yep. So police did go to his apartment. They arrested him, and despite all the phone calls, he denies them, and the murders he denies as well at this time. Back at the police station, he was shown photos of his dead victims. He starts getting all high-pitched and choked up, just like in the calls.
So that's just his crying voice? Ooh, he was ugly crying on the phone?
He was ugly crying on the phone.
I mean, I don't blame him. I would probably ugly cry if I did the same thing, but...
Absolutely. He was charged with the murder of Barbara Simmons and the assault on Denise Williams. He first pleaded not guilty to either one, but then eventually he was, after the trial... I need to back up. I was losing my train of thought.
That's not, back up for a second, because I just had a thought. Can you imagine being those police officers and you're interrogating him and he finally breaks and you hear him crying? I'm just picturing them standing there like, that's him. They're just mouthing to each other like, that's the guy.
Right.
Like they don't need any more evidence past that.
No. Well, you still need that smoking gun.
Well, you still need that smoking gun, but to have something that's that damning.
Yeah.
Because that's a very particular voice to mimic. Mm-hmm. And why would you mimic the voice of a killer if you're trying to convince them that you're not? I
mean, he was also drunk during those times too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
I think I forgot to mention he does have a drinking problem.
Makes sense.
So, unfortunately, with the attack on Compton and Potak, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. But with Denise and Barbara, there was plenty of evidence with both of them. So he was actually sentenced for 18 years for assaulting Denise, and he was sentenced to another 40 years with the murder of Barbara.
Good.
Absolutely.
Were those stacked on top of each other, or was?
Yeah, they were definitely stacked on top of each other. Like once he finishes his 18, he'll do his 40.
Okay.
And at this time, he was roughly around in his late 30s, early 40s. So he's never getting out.
No. Where is he?
Well, I got a little bit more to tell you.
Okay. Sorry.
Story's not just over just yet.
Sorry.
We were just in 1982. Now we're jumping into 1997. Stefani is in jail, and he says he'll confess to his crimes if he could get photos of his mother's gravesite, to which he did not reply why he wanted his pictures of his mother's gravesite.
Mommy issues.
Probably
enrichment.
He got the photos, and then he revealed gory details of his crimes, basically confirming all the attacks that he was always suspected of committing.
Oh, so he just fessed up to everything.
Fessed up to everything, even the ones that they didn't have enough evidence to convict them.
Not a bad trade.
No, not a bad trade at all. Not for the officers. No. Not for the state, actually.
No.
So he actually even mentioned about another woman he killed that was never pinned on him, and it was a cold case.
Oh.
He couldn't give any details on who the woman was, but he remembered accurate details of drowning her in the bathtub. Like I said, there was an unsolved case of a woman who drowned in a bathtub. Some believed it was just some sadistic form that Stefani was trying to get some clout for it or recognition for it, like taking credit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was able to give accurate descriptions that only the killer would have known in what was happening in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And what's even creepier is his name was saved in the phone contact list of, I don't know what they had like back in the 1990s, like a little Rolodex.
Rolodex?
Yes, a Rolodex. Yeah, there we go. Rolodex phone book, something like that.
Right, probably whatever the household phone number thing was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so used to...
Probably a Rolodex.
Yeah, a Rolodex back then. He goes, and even Stefani goes on to state, he could never give any true reason why he killed, but he did confess that he did learn shortly before killing that he had cancer. And all he was able to say about the urge to kill, he had a voice in his head. And it said, "Paul, it's time to kill," is how Stefani puts it.
I don't think that's a symptom of cancer.
I don't think so.
Sorry, that was a terrible joke.
So 1 year later, at the age of 53, in 1999, he died at the Oak Park Heights prison Did you know Oak Park Heights Prison is like a maximum security prison here in Minnesota, and it's built underground?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure I drive by it.
Yeah, when you go to work.
When I go to work.
Yeah, so, right off 36 there.
Yeah. I've gotten lost on those back roads and like driven around the perimeter of it. It's fucking spooky.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I think I actually know somebody who works there or used to work there too as a security guard.
Mm-hmm. One last quote I just wanted to tell you from Stefani is one of the calls he ended with, "Will you find me? I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody." Could you imagine that with that voice that you heard earlier?
I don't want to.
I mean,
that is literally nightmare fuel. I'm surprised there isn't like a horror film made out of it because it has all the right stuff. Especially with all of the movies and stuff that have been coming out lately following Ted Bundy and all of these things. This has all of the right stuff. It sheds light on a case that's not talked about by a lot of people. And did you say how many murders in total he confessed to?
Well, he assaulted 3 and killed 2.
Assaulted 3 and killed 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The 2 were Barbara Simmons and Bathtub Girl. Okay. The other 3 were...
For some reason, I was thinking there was a lot more. But
no, the first 2, they survived. I remember Karen Potak, her first victim. She was found with her brains exposed, and she survived that. And Compton survived the stabbing.
That's right. But honestly, like, especially with the trend that's going on with the movies and everything right now, I just think this would make a phenomenal movie. Anyway, that was a phenomenal story. Thank you for covering that.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a good first episode, I think.
That was a really good first episode.
Yeah. Doing a fun fact to end it off?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I knew I needed my computer for something.
Yeah, you said you were going to end. You said you were going to end every episode on a fun fact. So
we're going to end it on a fun fact. Here we go. Good. All right. A bird in the house. If a red-breasted robin flies into a room through a window, then death will follow shortly.
Now I'm afraid of robins.
I mean, it's only if they come through your window, so just don't let them in.
But I have a lot of robins around my neighborhood.
But don't let them in. It's not the fact that they're there. They're not an omen in and of themselves. It's if they come through a window into your home.
That's the only time they're an omen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what makes it an omen? I'm curious.
I don't know. Old wives' tales, folklore.
Okay.
That's what makes it.
So we're back onto wives' tales. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's cemetery folklore.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So,
I won't, from now on.
Don't think about it too hard.
Exactly. That's my pledge. That's my pledge for the rest of these times. I won't overthink it.
We're each using one of the brain cells. Don't overuse yours.
You mean half?
I thought we each had one.
I thought we had 1/2.
Oh, you're right. We do split it when we do this, and then we just like ping it back and forth when we need it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. Well, don't overuse your 1/2 because then my half is going to have to overcompensate for it.
Deal.
All right. Thank you for joining us on our first episode of the
guys.
Bleeding Grave podcast. And we will see you next time.
Absolutely.
The Bleeding Grave podcast is hosted by Hannah Slavic and Austin Wenger.
Music done by Hannah Slavic.
You can find us on social media on Facebook and Instagram.
And don't forget to listen to us on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube.